First, it designs the language. In other words, all statements are like text. Okay? They have a form, they have a content, they have a grammar. Okay? So, what you do when you're designing, of course, is you're selecting elements from your experience and combining them to represent some new experience or other. Well, we do that every day with language, don't we? If I want to make a statement as I am now, the vocabulary I'm using comes from all around, comes from society itself. Nobody invents a language, not even Shakespeare. Okay? People communicating with each other invent languages. Right? So what we're doing is this. We're trying to find a group of elements from the language, combine them to form a really authentic, true picture of the experience that we have to represent. That's what we're doing. Here's an example. If I mix forms together, forms of different associations. By the way, it may be that in design, that sometimes you have a clash of functions, if you see what I mean. A clash of functions. Functions that can never really quite fit because they are in some way contradictory to each other. Right? And this is the same here. This is a picture of different materials. Okay? They all have different associations. They all make you think of something else. All right? I mean, very quickly. This is the cuneiform, from the Middle East, around about 1,000, 2,000 years, 4,000 years ago, rather. Okay? This is just clockwork. This is a rather modern and very pretty kind of thing. There's a whole series of associations. If we select from these associations in order to fit them into a representative image. Now, here it is. Decon enters design. How does it do that? Well, it takes an architect to do that, of course. Surprise, surprise. That architect was the American Peter Eisenman, who actually decided to try and apply deconstructivist ideas to architecture. Right? Which is what you do. Now, let's get it right. Little reprise, little recovery, okay? There was a feeling that modern architecture had failed. Is this all that I had to offer? I happen to like this building. This building is Lever Building in New York by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. I happen to think of its kind. It's a beautiful piece of work, okay? But modernism had to offer more than that. It had to. Okay? And here, how beautiful. Well, you know what this is? This is the Ville Savoye by Le Corbusier. An extremely beautiful piece of work, always. Okay? It was rational, it was perfect, but it was also beautiful. Right? Now, but to do that, in all design processes, Corb had to repress some aspects of the design in order to achieve this perfect image. This is 1927, 29, something like that. Okay? What had he repressed? Okay? Well, it's modern architecture again. This is Lakeshore Drive by Mies van der Rohe in Chicago, right? 1950s, somewhere like that. Okay? Functionalism and the grid. That was the dominant aspect of the building. Okay? Now, there's a very interesting thing here, by the way, talking about repression. I'll tell you what happened. Repression actually meant that Mies van der Rohe had it written into the contracts of the people who inhabited this building that they had to keep white roll-down blinds on the windows. They couldn't put up their own curtains. Red, blue, green, flowers like my mother loved. Okay? They couldn't do that kind of thing. They had to have these white things. They could put the curtains on the inside. Okay? But from the outside, the building had to look like a black and white classical piece. Right? Okay. Let's just run through this thing. Okay? What we've got then at the top, modern architecture forcibly integrates functions together into a clean-cut and supposedly rational form. Right? Okay. emphasizes the difference between different functions. It doesn't try and find the similarities. It's prepared to throw these functions together, and if they clash, then they clash. And it is seen that they clash. Yeah. It tries to reveal the actual complexity of things, and it tries to, and this is quite important actually, modern architecture, as I mentioned earlier, did not have a sense of humour. You know, like a thoroughly repressed individual, okay? There's no sense of humour, okay? Not prepared to allow slips or, you know, jokes or irony. Can't handle irony, okay? There's a lot of people like that. But anyway, you know, the point is this: Decon tries to reintroduce these elements into architecture. Joy, sensuality, colour, amazingly, colour, right? And pleasure. Okay? So now we're on to a series that shows deconstructivist buildings of their kind. Okay? Okay. Owen Moss, Culver City, the works. Look at the angles. Now you might say, well, that's all quite irrational, really. Well, of course it is. It's a reaction against the most utterly rational system the world has ever seen. Okay? It's almost an effort of propaganda in architectural terms. So too, right, Bernard Schumy's park buildings, Lafayette, Paris. Okay? Same thing. Notice the colour. Right? Notice the different elements that are dropped, you know, straight into the building. Yep. And Himmelbad. Sitting on top of the 19th century neo-Baroque building. Right? You notice something else.
Stop.
Right?
Okay. Not Matt.
Okay. Have a look
Sorry,
at it.
can you do the other slide again, just in case just now the...
Okay, this is Kurt Himmelbad, producing an attic floor for, as you can see, look below, the 19th century neo-Baroque kind of building here. And here's this clash of these two interpretations. Now, if this had been the 19th century, the attic would have been in the French style, namely the roofs going up in slate, okay, with little dormer windows. But no. Decon doesn't work like that. Decon wants the clash. It is saying that this is new, this is an alternative reality stuck on top of this building. Now, this is Eisenman. Eisenman, as I said, was the American architect who actually made the intellectual jump, who took Decon and applied it in architectural terms. Now look at the buildings. I want to look at this one, housing in Berlin. Okay. Now look at the organisation of the facade. Okay. Now you know and I know that people cannot use slanting floors, all right? Because they fall over. Okay. So all this is just an expression of something on the outside. In the inside, of course, it's flat floors. Okay? The right angle still dominates for construction reasons, for reasons of physics, of gravity. Okay? But on the outside, Eisenman's trying to express something. He's trying to express a kind of disorientation, right? And distortion. Now look, the design issue here is no longer practical, but it's semantic. Okay? Now wait a minute, look, the thing is this. Decon originally was an attempt to find the truth, the complexity of the building itself, or even of the experience itself as it's represented. Now, when it becomes an architectural style, it's not like that anymore. Okay? What it is a stylistic shock. Each of these buildings is a propaganda exercise for a particular view of the world. Okay? A world of clash, collision, okay? And so on and so on. And these, as you can see. And that is also, of course, to knock out your, your assumptions about what buildings should look like, right? Assumptions based on the past. And of course we have the classic one, absolutely classic, down the line, Frank Gehry in Bilbao, the Guggenheim in Bilbao, okay? Which is titanium, I think it's at this stage titanium, sheets in what appear to be a random distribution, okay? Whereas the museum of the 19th century, okay? The German museums with marching Corinthian columns and pediments and whatever, and classical harmony, okay? Well, it's gone, okay? Decon says we're just going to explode. We're going to explode the perceptual centre of gravity of this building, okay? It's going to be seen almost as if I've got it, look, you take a bomb, you put it under the building, okay? You walk away, of course, right? You light the fuse, and you walk away, all right? And then the building goes up. Just as the building goes up, boom, 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 what you do is you take a photograph of it. Click, just as all the parts are separating from each other, right? That's what you get. That is deconstructivism. I obviously there's a literal aspect, right? When you blow up a building, you're deconstructing it, right? In this case, it's a philosophical analogy. Analogy means there's a functional similarity, okay? The analogy is that. It's basically to separate out, to explode the parts of the building in order to reveal some kind of truth. But by this stage, it's simply a stylistic truth. It's simply a perceptual or semantic game. That's not a major criticism, by the way. I'm just saying what is actually happening. Whether you like it or dislike it is another matter. Okay? Yes, Bilbao and Frank Gehry. There's Gehry again. Now, as I point out here, any angle but the repressive modernist right angle. The right angle, which comes out of Western classical civilization, all the way down to the Parthenon in Greece. Okay? The right angle is the dominant mode of organization for architecture and design. But with Decon, they explode the right angle. It's no longer the dominant geometry of a building. It doesn't need to be the dominant geometric aspect of a building. Right? As we can see here. Now, I've been speaking about architecture, okay? But this idea, this philosophy, this approach to design, to the production or representation of experience in buildings, and now also invades, did I say invade? Intrudes into graphic design. So I'm going to run through a series of slides that show you graphic design once it's been hit by the deconstructivist ethos. All right? Now, most of the works that I show here are from this wonderful graphic designer called David Carson. Okay? But just to get something right, what is the modernist trend in graphic design that had to be overcome by deconstructivism? Well, the answer is very simple. When you looked at it, right back at the beginning, the very first slide I showed you, modernist graphic design, right? The text is up there, it's clearly placed in block, the images are clearly separated out, it's a classical piece of work, lots of white, black and white colour. All right? Here is an example of something that is emotive. This one is an emotive image, if you want to put it that way, that combines, here's the thing, it combines the text as a piece of semantics that you will understand, information in other words, okay? It combines the text as an image, okay? The text no longer separated out, but becomes part of the overall image.